When I saw that family and that mom crying on that television, that's what triggered the Man-e Moreno Foundation. I knew her pain, not as a parent, but as losing a loved one. And I said, that's what we're going to use for this. I said, I need to meet this family. I met Jeanette, and I said, what could we do to help? That's what started the whole Man-e Moreno Foundation.
Well, I love the San Gabriel Valley.
Welcome to the My SGV podcast.
So I grew up here and I still live in Alhambra.
I was raised in between Temple City and Alhambra.
Eventually resided in South San Gabriel.
Our mission is to capture and share the stories of the people of the San Gabriel Valley.
Monterey Park has pretty much been my whole life.
Well, I'm proud to say that I was born and raised in the San Gabriel Valley.
We believe our diversity is what makes the SGV great. And no matter where you are from, in the San Gabriel Valley, you will feel welcome. All right, SGVers, welcome back to another episode of the My SGV podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in and spending this time with us. If you're new here, thank you for being here. We bring you the stories of the people of the San Gabriel Valley. And if you're a returning listener, I appreciate you spending this time with us. Well, Robert, we met on Instagram first, and we got to chat briefly, and just the story of losing a loved one before its time. That's like, I lost my brother at 29, when he was 29. So immediately I was like, okay, that's, there's something here that our listeners can resonate with, and hopefully bring something good from tragedy.
100%.
Yeah, I'm really curious to get into that story because you have done a lot of good from that tragedy, and I want the listeners to be able to get into that and hear that story. So, but before that, Robert, I need to thank the sponsors for the show. Thank you to Paris Baguette for supplying the delicious pastries that you'll get to enjoy after the show each and every week for our guests. Go check them out in the city of San Gabriel. Delicious pastries. It's hard to decide if you want sweet or savory. Obviously, you can get both, but it's kind of hard to just choose which one you want when you're there. So go say hi to Jason and the crew for us. After losing his younger brother Manny to a random act of violence, he didn't just mourn, he built. Within 6 months, he launched the Man-e Moreno Foundation to bring hope, healing, and mentorship to youth and families affected by violent crime. From the mobile teen centers to the 3,200 square foot academic and athletic facility now known as the 212 Project, he spent nearly 2 decades investing in the next generation, offering not just physical training, but emotional strength, spiritual guidance, and life skills. Through programs like How to Run for Office, Digital Dialogues, and the Diversity Unified Project, he's made community empowerment both practical and personal. Recognized with awards from local and state leaders, Robert isn't in this for the spotlight. He's in it for the kids, walking into his gym without direction and leaving with vision. Every program, every late night planning session, every conversation, it's all about turning loss into legacy. Please join me in welcoming Robert Moreno to the show. Well, Robert, welcome.
Russell, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor, it's a privilege. And I'll tell you why, because I see the work that you're doing, and we need more positive in the San Gabriel Valley. No matter what walk of life you come from, it's always good to hear good news versus the bad news.
Sure. And
when I saw that opportunity, I just want to personally thank you to allow me to share my story, and in hopes someone listens and hears the story that could encourage that person or that loved one to continue to fight, continue to go on in this world of grief. And we don't even want to go into what we're facing right now. However, I think good news is always better than bad news. And when you see the results of a tragedy come out, the fruit that helps a person with its grief, that helps a person continue to want to do better and be better in everything that they do. And that's what we encourage our youth that we work with, is to be better every day.
I want to get into the work that you are doing and have been doing for over 2 decades, but let's start with, what is your connection to the San Gabriel Valley?
Well, my connection with the San Gabriel Valley is I grew up in the city of Covina. A lot of people always say West Covina or Covina. We often say we're the best Covina, just an inside joke. But grew up in Covina, played sports, went to school, elementary, middle school, high school, and we are a family that is rooted in our city. And in the midst of this tragedy, that same city welcomed us and is continuing to help us in our mission. We have great city council, our police chief, and multiple other cities in the San Gabriel Valley, El Monte, South El Monte, Duarte. Duarte was one of our first cities that we worked with when we started the foundation. All the surrounding cities is the SGV. And I'll tell you why we work with so many cities, Russell, is because crime doesn't stop at the city limits. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, the riffraff is all over the place, and our target is to help the youth in the San Gabriel Valley. Anywhere from Alhambra to Pomona, from La Habra to Glendora. The foothills. That's our desire, is to see kids reach their full potential and find their God given purpose in life.
Yeah. So you were born and raised here in Covina, and was your family originally?
Well,
here?
I was born in Montebello, California, which is still San Gabriel Valley. Then we moved it from LA to Baldwin Park, lived there shortly, and then my elementary years we were in Covina. So that's mainly what I know is Covina. And yeah.
And had your family already been here, or when did they get here?
My dad came, I believe, the history behind my dad is, I think he came when he was about 4 or 5 to the United States from Mexico. And it was just my dad and my aunt and my grandmother. And my grandmother was a hard worker. She came here with the purpose to give my dad a better opportunity, and that's exactly what he got. He started in the factory. My dad actually manufactured water beds back in the 70s and 80s.
Water beds, yeah.
Crazy, right? And from there he moved into ministry. And the majority of my life I remember the ministry part of my dad's work and working with the community, working with the hurting. And that's why the not too far off, the mission that we have is similar to ministry, is to see young people reach their full potential and to reach the hurting. Before we go too far, it was only God that helped us through the situation that we experienced in 2007 when we lost my brother Man-e. And they say the word never comes back void. So all the things that I've seen growing up in ministry, seeing my dad helping those people, were the same people in the ministry that came to help us in our darkest and most vulnerable time of losing my younger brother Man-e. So that's our story as far as coming up. My mom was born here, so I have 2 of the greatest parents. I know every kid says we have the greatest parents, but by hands down, to see what they have weathered through all these years and continue to keep their faith, that is a staple to many that they impact or impart in their lives, is a true testament that God is faithful and God will continue to provide in the midst of the hardest times. And the great thing is I get to see that happening for my kids now. And when I first started the foundation, I saw the blessings and the favor, and I believe that came from my dad's hard work of 30 plus years in ministry in the San Gabriel Valley as well. And I got to reap those blessings and that favor. And now, my 18 years of running our foundation, now I see my kids being blessed, whether it's through their education, whether it's through the relationships, the opportunities that they have. I believe that's the cycle of God's favor. It's often said favor isn't fair. Sometimes it isn't, because but sometimes people don't know what we've had to go through in order to reap some of the blessings that God has blessed us with.
So you grew up in Covina as a Mexican American, going to the local schools there, What was life like growing up for you and your brother?
Covina back in those days, it was we were the dark ones, but
Meaning that it's mostly Caucasian
it
there?
was mostly Caucasian growing up, but our Caucasian friends are still friends with us till this day, and it's crazy. We were kind of, from Baldwin Park versus Covina. There's a little bit of a difference. And it's a couple streetlights. Badillo runs in, Ramona turns into Badillo, and I now live off of Badillo. So it's one street, but the cultures are different. But I've never experienced anything, racist or anything like it wasn't hard, but it was different. And growing up, we have some great memories. Growing up, we went to Barranca Elementary, and we had some friends. Quick side note, Mama Patrilla's right here, right around the corner from your studio. Our good friends, the Lighthouse family, actually owned. When we were in elementary school, we would come here and they pick at the cheese, and Ryan Lighthouse and Mike Lighthouse, they still, I know Mike still owns the one in Glendora. I'm not too sure of the history on this one at Mama Patrilla's, but we used to come here when we were in elementary. We would spend the night at Ryan's house and come over here with their dad and pick at the cheese, make our own pizzas. Those are the memories that we have growing up. Driving off of the 10 freeway right now, I was like, oh shoot, that's a staple here in the SGV, the Petrillo family. Great pizza, and so it was different at first, but we grew great friendships, great memories. From Branca Elementary, went to Sierra Vista Junior High. That's when it was still a junior high. It was in the middle school, and then we all went to South Hills High School, there in the city of West Covina. But it is Covina Valley Unified, and all of my siblings, we went from those schools: Branca, Sierra Vista, and South Hills. And then now my kids are graduating from there. Nephews, nieces. That's all we know, and that's why we want to give back so much to the SGV, because we're rooted here. We're not going to be chased out. We're not going to be, our tragedy was our tragedy. We would hope that other families would not have to see the tragedy that we had to face.
Robert, what sort of things did you and your siblings enjoy growing up?
Growing up, we would jump on our bike and we would ride through Villa Verde. Anybody that comes from that area, you had Zalda's Trail. It was this wash. They since built a retirement home on top of it, but there was these little tunnels and stuff. Zalda's Trail, we would ride on Villa Verde all the way into San Dimas, Benelli Park. We would ride our bikes from morning to night, and those were the greatest memories. Now it's like, where are you going? Now you have to put a tag on your kid's bike. Now, don't leave your bike out because it might not be there. But back then we could leave our bikes out in the front yard, and we knew it would still be there. We would get in trouble for doing that, but we knew our bike would still be there. But those are some of the greatest memories, playing baseball at Covina Valley, Covina National, there at Branca Park. Now it's Corey Lytle Field. Just mainly just hanging out, swimming at Grandpa's house. Our grandparents used to live right across the street, and they had a swimming pool, so we would, depend on those bologna sandwiches that your grandmother would make, and the ones that stuck to the top of your roof, the roof of your mouth. Those are the memories. Those are the things that we did, and hang out at the church with our dad. Those would be the three top things. But the main one was just jumping on that bike, man, and just I don't think our parents knew how far we would ride sometimes. You know? But it was fun, and we made ramps and found dirt lots to. I'm dating myself, but the movie Rad came out back in the 80s, man. Everybody wanted to have that GT bike and the Mongoose and, ride like that. And that's what me and my brother Manny and a group of our friends would do. That's how we grew up.
Did you ever ride your bikes at the BMX track in Rio Narrows?
No, that was a little bit too far. We were daring, but we weren't that daring. That was a little bit too far, and I really can't remember those tracks. Honestly, that one I had to miss out on that one.
I had never heard of it, but a guest here, mentioned that same movie, and he's like, there's this like BMX track there at Whittier Narrows, and I was like, wow, I've never heard of it.
Yeah.
And they do races with like jumps and turns, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, we were on the Brookside. We had to make our own ramps and and tracks and stuff, but those were some of the greatest memories.
Yeah.
The Eastland Mall, which is Eastland's still the shopping center's there, but it was actually, you had the Eastland Mall and then you had the West Covina Plaza. We were closer. We live off of Barranca, so we had our own movie theater there. We had our own arcade, our own pizza place. That's when Mervin's was there. I mean, those were the memories. The Barranca building. If anybody knows the area, Barranca and the 10 freeway, that big Barranca building, that was being built when we were kids, and we would walk by, and year after year, walking home, and then finally the fountain started working. And so we would be walking home on the summer days, and the little splash would be coming down. That was the road, to how we walked home. Now it's the Jollibee corporate office, and times change. But that building, I remember walking by that when it was in construction. I know I'm old, but those are my greatest memories, growing up in Covina and experiencing. Can we go to the movie? Saving up your, I think back then was $4.25 for a movie. Hey, I got a little bit of extra coin. Can I go to the movies? Those were the memories, and me and my brother Manny, we shared some great memories.
It's been quite a while since your brother had passed, and I imagine that it's a story that you've shared probably many times. But please, if you can share what happened around his passing.
Well, it was November 10th, 2007. He had just gotten home.
How old were you guys then?
He was 26. He was 26 when he was murdered, and got home one day and one night, and before he made it inside his apartment, this is what was being told to us from our detectives, and he was there was no confrontation, there was nothing. It was just one shot to the face. This young man, at the age, I believe he was 17 at the time, just walked up to my brother and shot him in the face. We asked, was anything taken? Was there confrontation? And the detective said no. It was just a random act of violence. Looking after this story, what was told to us, the young man was looking for that acceptance, running with the wrong crowd, and unfortunately my brother was his initiation. He got a hold of the gun a few days prior, and they say that my brother was his first. And in between November 10th and March 19th, there was possibly 2 other shootings with that same gun. And then on March 19th, 2008, the young man, along with some other youth, broke into a multi-million-dollar home there in the city of West Covina off of Cameron, and one of the young ladies stood in the car. The other 4 attempted to go inside the residence, and they heard someone talking, so 3 of them ran out. One of them stood in there, and unfortunately he took the life of that homeowner. Chased her around her home while she was on the phone with 911, and I bring that up because that's how they tied the murder together. It was the same gun that was used in that murder, and whether it was the fate of God or I still question how close and how far away that could bring that together. And our detectives are 99.9 certain that was the shooter. That young man is now facing life without parole, plus another 35 years because of the circumstances. Myself, at the time, one of our foundation advisors, he was with the LA County Sheriffs, and me and my wife, we sat at that sentencing, and Russell, I got my closure. I truly believe that was my closure. I don't want to see my parents have to sit in a courtroom and look at gruesome pictures and hear and relive this horrible night again. for me, I took it, I looked over, I saw that young man's parents weeping, and the heart that I have comes from my father and my parents. I started to have sympathy for them. But then I snapped out of it because they could still visit their son in jail. Unfortunately, my parents can't see my brother any longer. I'm not going to have my time with my brother. So I stepped back and I thought about it, and no, he still has to face his consequences. And later on, we got to know who that family is and what they were, and that young man's dad was a pastor as well. So it's just two separate roads that us as PKs chose, that lifestyle or this lifestyle that brings destruction. And unfortunately, that young man chose that lifestyle, and he's now spending the rest of his life in jail. He hasn't been charged for the murder of my brother, and for whatever reasons, I don't go back into it other than his anniversary or his birthday. I have good rapport with those same detectives that are now lieutenants and captains, and our police chief has just been amazing to our family and supporting our efforts to help other families. So that's our closure, and I saw that sentencing. I walked away that day from Pomona Courthouse, and I looked at my wife and I said, our mission has to continue, or it was all for nothing, and so my brother died that day, and we got woken up it wasn't even a late night, it was about 10 when it happened. So by the time they figured out who he was and what, we lived right around the corner, and I got there, and it's the stuff you see in the movies and you read in the paper. Never thought our family would have to go through it. I never thought I would have to hold my father in front of the Covina police station and just, my dad would cry, when he's worshiping or preaching or something. I've seen that part, but never the hurt. I never thought I would see that. And we were in front of Covina's police station that late night, and I just didn't know we didn't know what to do. We're a very sports-driven family, so I've lost a lot of games, but the coaching in my life has also taught me how to lose and win. So I knew I wasn't going to lose on this. I knew it. I knew for some reason I had to do something the opposite, other than be angry and let my grief take my family down, or stupid decisions to jeopardize what I have to do, and that's be a husband and a father. That wasn't never an option, but grief could take you in some really dark places, depression, stuff like that. But I told my wife, Wendy, we got to do something with this situation, and that's when we started the foundation.
How did you find out what happened that night?
Well, my brother, they lived in an apartment, which my sister lived in another apartment adjacent to, right next to each other, and my aunt as well. They lived all in the same area. All of us, we always grew up around, like, grandma lived here, we lived there, mom lives there, cousins live there. I mean, that's just how we were always really close together. But that night, I believe it was my sister Valerie, she called our house and said, you need to come, something happened to Man-e. And we still didn't, we weren't certain. So, I mean, literally a block away, Russell, from here to the valley, that's how close we were. So we drove over there, and by that time the helicopter was up. It was, it was just a gloom night, almost like the whole fog had just already dropped, just like a movie. And I came to the street, and I'm looking, and you could see there was a van, a cargo van that was always parked there. So I didn't see Man-e on the floor, but we knew that he was on the other side of the street. That's where he had parked his car, and that's how we found out. And the days after, I had a lot of questions. And I was the big brother, so the detectives, asked me, who, what, and the months go by to find out that this is what happened. still a really hard thing to swallow. It's been about 18 years now, and it seems like it's yesterday. You know, his laugh, his quirky, you know, attitude, his artistry. He was a graphic designer. Some of his art we still look at and we still wonder, like, what was he thinking? This is so cool. Some of his logos and some of the colors that he used, some of the abstract art that you look at his artwork, it just blows you away, you know. And you always hear that after someone passes, oh, he lit up a room, or, you know, but it was true. You know, we still see friends till this day of his, and he's like, man, you know, I remember your brother. He was, you know, he was this, he was that, he was all, you know. I did a project for South Hills High School, not this past month, and the director of facilities, BJ, he's like, hey, I don't know if I ever told you this, but your brother Manny was one of my first friends at Barranca Elementary when we were in kindergarten. And all these years later, I was like, man, I didn't know that. We've known him. He's coached my son at South Hills, the football team, and BJ was on that coaching staff. But that's how much roots we have within our city, within our district, and in the San Gabriel Valley. It was a trip. First time I ever heard that, I said, you know what, BJ, I'm going to tell my mom that. I think it'll probably make her day. And I still haven't told her that, but I just to hear, like, hey, your brother, he was one of my best friends in kindergarten. That's history. That's roots, and that's what we're about.
You were in your late 20s at the time.
Yeah. How old was I? Yeah. Well, no, I was in the 30s. Yeah, I was in my 30s, I think, because I'm 48 now. So yeah, about 30 years old. Yeah, 30 years old. Yeah.
So not a child, but still, you had to console your parents.
Yeah.
And how did your family deal with it?
You know, man, it was something else. Because days after, I remember weeping on my parents' couch for a good day, 2 days. The outpouring of friends and family from the church, and I mean, we weren't able to do our laundry for a couple of weeks. We had food every day. You know, they were helping us with our kid. You know, my kids at the time, making sure they went to school, or, you know, what they had. And you know, I remember a few days after, I was still licking the wounds, and I was just mad. And I remember going to my dad's house, and I walked into his backyard, and went to the backyard, and he was sitting there with his Bible, and I'm like, I'm over here worrying about me, but like I'm hurt and I'm angry. But my dad, that was his son, you know, and to see him such at not peace, but he just looked at me and he said, sit down, and he shared a scripture with us, and it was me and a couple of friends, and he said, you know, I can't remember the scripture to the point, but it was like, I'm going to contend for you. Like God was saying, I'm going to fight for you. I will take care of it. And to see my dad and my mom just so locked into their faith, I think that's what has carried our family. It's literally carried our family for 18 years now. Is their faith, and that's the best way I could tell you how I see my parents take on this loss of my brother, Manny, 2007, and unfortunately, and 10 years later, my brother Michael passed away due to a brain aneurysm, and you know, to see it rock our family twice, but my parents never waver. That spoke volumes to me, my siblings, and to many others. They often say, man, the Moreno family, they're so strong. No, we're broken. You know, we're broken. But through the faith of God and his strength, when we are weak, he is strong. You know, all those scriptures, you know, and all those teachings, that's what carried our family. And that's how I would say how my parents weathered this, their faith, 100%.
Sorry. Thank you for sharing that, Robert. 6 months after your brother Manny passed, you launched a foundation in his name. What do you remember about that time, and what gave you the strength to start building instead of breaking? I mean, I imagine it's your faith again.
Yeah, it was the faith. It was January 26th. It was the day after my birthday. A young lady by the name of Samantha Salas. I believe she was 16. It's been years, but it happened right here in the city of Duarte. There was a time in those years, in that time, 2008, around there, there was a lot of issues between Monrovia and Duarte. They were implementing a gang injunction, so on and so forth, and that's how we started working with these cities. I saw her mother, Jeanette, and Tina Yamashiro, her aunt, still does a lot of work, especially in the city of Alhambra. She's a big advocate for victims of violent crimes, and that was one of our, when I saw that family and that mom crying on that television, that's what triggered the Man-e Moreno Foundation. That's what triggered. I knew her pain, not as a parent, but as losing a loved one. And I said, that's what we're going to use for this. What the enemy intended for bad, that's what we're going to use to bring the good. And me and my wife, I said, I need to meet this family. We met in the city of Duarte, and I met Jeanette, and I said, what could we do to help? We did some fundraising for them, and that's what started the whole Man-e Moreno Foundation of being with the victims of violent crimes, and doing fundraising, starting support groups. That was the victims of violent crimes portion of our foundation, and we did that for about 3 years. We did that for about 3 years, and we did a lot of work. But I sat back, and by that time I had a lot of rapport with different city council members and people of position in Senate, and all those people have now retired. But I would pick their brain at the round tables of saying, hey, what could I do different? And everything that they said was intervention, prevention, intervention, prevention. So we started going to anybody that would listen to our story, anybody that would give me a group of kids, this is what we're going to do. We would do positive concerts. We would do talent shows. We would do youth summits here in Monterey Park, the surrounding areas. We collaborated with Asian Pacific clinics at the time. Anything we would do. And that's where we started with the mobile teen center. We started with a 24-foot enclosed trailer. We made it a teen center, and we went city to city, just trying to help whoever would take our help, whoever would listen, wherever we could give a positive message. We would change the method, but not the message. We would look at the demographic. We would bring in pro skaters. We would bring in actors, pro athletes, whatever the demographic would bring, we would change it. But the message was the same message, that you can be something. We could laugh again even after losing a loved one. There's still life, and we just went at it until we went brick and mortar. In 2000, I think it was 2012, we were able to lock down a building, and we started at 3,200 square feet, and right now we're a little under 6,000 square feet. We keep on expanding, that's the sports aspect of it, of the agility training. The early on, before COVID, we were able to have a study hall. We would have tutors come to the location for every hour that the kid would train with us. They had to study with us. Just bringing all of our programs under one roof, and by the grace of God, this is year 14 or 15. We're still moving. Donations have gone low, but God still provides, and we have some great supporters. Like I said, I mentioned our city, our police department, just really supporting our efforts.
Yeah.
So we went from a trailer to brick and mortar, and it was all on a vision, seeing if we could stop those tears from other parents dealing with what my parents had to deal with as well.
I have you opened at 3,200, but now it's closer to 6,000 square foot facility to serve youth in your community. Can you tell us about a moment when you first walked into that space and felt that you had done something?
Well, I'm going to rewind just a little bit. When I first started the foundation, I was working for Union Bank, and I was there in the city of Monterey Park, off of Potrero Grande. They would put us on the Metrolink. They would encourage us to take the Metrolink, which our facility is right by the Covina station. You walk out of our doors, you can see the station right there. And for those 3 years that I envisioned something. I would walk by this building and I would look into it, and it was empty. It was empty. It was empty until we finally got to the point where Kathy Clark, great friend of our family, she's a realtor. I asked her, I said, Kathy, give me a sit down with the owner. I remember meeting him once, but at the time, the cost per square foot, it was not even attainable. Just get me in front of him one more time, and after that, I'll walk away if we can't do it. So she got us to sit down with that owner of his name is Eugene Minrad, great man. The only reason why we're surviving right now, our location would be downtown Covina, right, so close to the Metrolink. I mean, it's prime real estate, but for the past 14 years we've been there. So we meet with Mr. Minrad, and I tell him, hey, I met you because I remember meeting you. And we go on, and I gave him our media pack. This is what I want to do with this building. This is what I see. And he was flat out with us. He said, you know what? I've done well. I'm a very wealthy man, and my kids are wealthy. And I was like, whoa, where are you going with this, man? He goes, but I have a grandson that went the opposite way, and I see my son spending a lot of time and effort and money to try to get him on the right track. If this building is going to be for kids, I'm with you. This is what we're going to do for your lease. I have to go I'm going on vacation for 2 weeks. I believe he was going on a cruise or something. I'm going to write you a letter, but I'm not going to deal with the city, and I'm not going to deal with any renovations to this building. Whatever you're going to do, it's going to be on you. And that was 14 years ago, Russell. And since then, we walked into this building it was just concrete. But through the partnerships with Home Depot and other great givers, we have painted that building 3 times. We have this past year, Hilda Solis's office has been awesome she's helped us, and redo our turf and flooring, and remodeled the student area, the little office, the little lobby. We continue to do things because we want to give our kids that walk through those doors. We service anywhere from the ages of 8 all the way to college, and there's some adults that do their classes, and that's what helps us offset any kids that can't afford to be with us. But it's a community now. It's just these kids know where they could go, no matter what they're going through at home. We don't know every story, but kids wear their heart on their sleeve sometimes, and we know that they're going through stuff. But my staff and on my team, which consists of my two younger sisters and 3 other trainers, my cousin runs the front desk. I mean, it's a family affair, and it's not a business for us. Our paycheck is seeing these kids graduate from college, going into their career, being a good person in the society and in our community, and that's our paycheck. Now we get to see these kids go to Division I schools on scholarships, all types of schools, but it's through that tragedy that triggered for us to bring something to the city of Covina and the San Gabriel Valley for a purpose.
Robert, we ask each guest to bring an item with them. What did you bring with you today?
Well, I brought 2 items, and they go and tie together. My number one pick item is my family portrait.
Can you show it to this camera here?
Sure.
This one right in front of you.
Right here. This is my beautiful family. My wife, Wendy, high school sweetheart. My daughter, Aubrey, she'll be 30 this year. My son, Austin, he's 26. And then our baby, Charlie, she's 16. The reason why I show this picture is this is what I wake up for. It's often said, what's your why? We often ask the kids that come through our building, what's your why? Why do you wake up in the morning? Why do you play the sport you play? Why do you do the things that you do? Why do you look at yourself in the mirror and feel the way you feel when you see yourself? And I have to ask myself that's daily. This is my why. I've graduated a little bit from the why to what's my more. What am I going to do more to make sure my family has what they need? How am I going to continue to make sure that mortgage payment is done? How am I going to make sure that lease is paid over at 212 Training Center? Why, what am I going to do? And this is why I put this picture. My family is my everything, and it's only my family that's carried me, as well as my faith and my parents and great supporters through our tragedies, our two losses of my two brothers. I was thinking of bringing their picture, and I brought this one because we are the Morenos. The other piece that goes to it is we give our senior athletes, our senior students, these keys, and this one is you are the key to the influence. If I could continue to influence these young people to do better and to live their God purpose-driven life, then you know what, Russell, I'm going to sleep better at night. I can't stop gang violence. I can't stop the drug addiction, the fentanyl use. That's not my job, but I could curve it. Me and my team and our family and great supporters, if we could reach one, that one will go out and reach 10. That's the power of influence. Yes, we have great influencers on TikTok and Instagram, and yes, but the true influence is where are we leading our kids for today. That's the other part of it. So we often we give all of our seniors these keys. This year it was the year of the key to discipline, because some of our seniors have really overcame some things, and it was their discipline to show up to training, to continue to study, and to continue to strive to get that 4.0 or above. We don't encourage 2.0s. That's just average. We need, in order to get into a Cal State school, you need at least a 3.5. So why not go for a 4 and see where you land? Now, if I tell you to go get a 2.0, you're gonna land underneath that. And if you're truly dedicated to do something bigger and better than the generations before them, you often hear breaking generational curses. We broke it. We didn't, we didn't come from a life of drugs or gang violence, but we're hard workers. My dad is a hard worker, and then going into ministry, we're still keeping that cycle going of encouraging other families and kids to reach their God-given purpose. So that's my significance, is my family. One thing I didn't share is the 212. Where does 212 come from? 211, water is hot. At 212, it boils. It's that one extra degree. And that's our whole curriculum that we give our students, our student athletes, and our kids that come into our facility. It's not just student athletes. After COVID, now we see an influx of kids that the parents are like, we just need them to be active. We don't want them on the video games. We want them off the iPad. And we have a whole group of kids that just love to come and be active. They do their activities, they do their workouts, but it's just having them do the one extra degree that could take you from good to great. Not just in sports, but academics. I can't read another chapter. I can't do no more, just one more chapter. You really want to extend out, just hold open a door for somebody. Say sir, say ma'am. Those are all the extra degrees that we encourage our kids that come through our facility.
Robert, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, I want to get into some of the things that you're doing now with that program and what your plans are for the future of that. So let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Sometimes, even the best of us can slip up. That's why the law offices of Scott Wormuth are here to pick you back up again.
And while they strive to get you the biggest compensation possible, oh my gosh!
Their main concern is your health and recovery. They work closely with doctors and insurance companies to make sure you get the proper medical treatment.
Initial consultations are free, so give them a call.
At the law offices of Scott Wormuth, we're with you all the way.
I'm Scott Wormuth. We've been fighting for your rights for more than 40 years.
All right, we're back with Robert. Robert, before the break, you were sharing the items that you brought in with us, and thank you for that. Before we go on with the show, though, we'd like to ask questions from this deck of cards called Icebreakers, and they're just a fun way for people to get to know us a little bit better. So here we go. if you could change one thing about the way you were raised, what would you change?
If I was able to change one thing of how I was raised,
Yeah.
I think I would listen more.
You would listen more.
I would listen more versus saying I thought I knew it all. I think I would really honestly listen better and pay better better attention to what my parents were saying. Now being a parent, it's like, I get it now. I get why you were so strict. I get why. I really wouldn't change much, other than for me personally, I would listen more, Russell. I would take heed to the things that my parents were trying to teach me when they were trying to teach me.
That's interesting. It doesn't really answer the question. It's more of like, what would you change about you? But that's okay. I mean,
I wouldn't change anything. I there's no regrets growing up, man, because now facing the things that I faced in life, I wouldn't have it any other way because of the structure that my parents brought. I can't say that I had a bad growing up, man. I was truly blessed to have how I was raised. I really wouldn't change something.
Awesome. So for me, I would change that I would say mostly my mom and my brother, their driving motivation for me would not be a motivation away, but a motivation towards. So a motivation away is all fear driven, right? If you do this consequence is going to happen. Don't do that or else this consequence, right? So that's all fear based versus to instill in me a motivation towards. If you do this is the positive thing that you can get. If you do this, then this positive thing, right? And so many people in life are so fear driven, and whether or not they even come out of that as an adult is, is very rare, I think. Wow. And then they drive fear into others, right? And so I just wish that they took a different approach to that. Well, if you're watching or listening, if you could change one thing about your childhood, what would that be? So, Robert, you've mentored hundreds of kids through the 212 Project. Can you share a story of one young person whose life shifted because of what you've built?
I think I mentioned earlier when we talked off camera that there's some kids that are now attorneys. There's now kids that are teachers, law enforcement. The one that really, really sticks to me is Lonnie Rodriguez. She came into our facility when she was roughly around the age of 10. And great athlete, really quiet. But to see her and her brother ended up coming in later on in the years, but to build the relationship with her and see her family grow. Her and her father have a great relationship. Graduated from Charter Oak High School right there in Covina, and then she went to Middle Tennessee on a softball scholarship. And every year you just seen her progress more and more, not for the sport, but as a young lady. And me and my wife got to see her one year. She came out to play, and they were playing San Diego State. And just to pull up and just to see her face look at us the way she looked at us, that still sits really close to my heart because I got to see her from the age of 10 all the way to college, and she graduated. She's now back home, and she's deciding what she's going to do. She was talking about law enforcement, but she was doing some teaching right now. But I would say Lonnie Rodriguez is a big one. Summer Quinones, we just enjoyed her graduation from Azusa Pacific University. Early on when we first opened, she was in our facility, got some offers to play at some other schools out of state, get a phone call from her dad, Tony. I even saved the voicemail because it meant so much. And my daughter played at Azusa Pacific, and she was coaching at the time there. That was her dream school. She had some great other options out of state, but to see this kid from West Covina, I believe she went to Bishop Amat High School, get a call from her dad and says, "Hey, Rob, I know we haven't talked in some time, but I know that you're an APU family. Is there any way you could pass on my daughter's information?" And I said, "Send me the video, send me her profile. I'll give it to my daughter. I'll talk to Coach Weber." And rest is your guys' job. And short time after, she got signed to Azusa Pacific, played all 4 years. She just graduated this past summer, or this past time, and we had her graduation. We were there at her graduation party, and to see her grow into this young lady that is just a phenomenal family, that's what continue to give back. And now her plans are to go into law enforcement as well. Those are my two highlights. I mean, we had some boys come through our facility that, just listening to their stories and stuff like that, but to see every kid grow. But those are my two highlights, because we got to see them so young, and then to see them accomplish what they strive for. Those would be my highlights.
Awesome. What is in the future for what you're doing?
We still have one phase that we continue to pray and strive to do, and that's to bring the visual arts, music. That at our location, there's one more neighbor that, he says he's going to move, and we're just waiting for him to move out of that location. That would be our visual arts, not the sports. Some kids don't want sports. Some kids don't play sports, but they love graphic design. They love podcasts. They love audio, music. That is our goal. And before I step down from my position, before I hand it off to my siblings, that's one thing I want to see done before I leave. And that's the visual arts part of our foundation. And that will really complement my brother, Man-e, and his creativity. That location, that one unit in that property, it's already done. It's already set. It's nice in there. So we know we don't have to do too much work. We just need the neighbor to move out so we could take ownership of that one too. And then we will be a complete hub right there in downtown Covina for our youth to come and find what they want to do in life.
If you could say one thing to every family who's lost someone to violence, what would it be?
When it first happens, the phone calls don't stop. But after, there's a time where everybody goes back to their normal life. And our new normal is living without our loved one. Our new normal is hearing a song and just losing it. Seeing a movie and saying, man, that was their favorite. Eating a dish and saying, man, he could really cook this one up. So it's a constant reminder of that loss. But who other is going to be able to fill that void? And yes, I have my tangibles, I have my wife, I have my kids, but without my faith, without God in my life, I think I would have torn things up. If I would have let that grief and the depression overtake my situation and my life. I still have to wake up and go to work. I still have to function as a husband and a father and a community member, or whatever title they give me. I still have to function. But there's days, Russell, that I can't function. The downtime is the worst time for me, because that's when it all just starts. Anniversaries, birthdays, you start reminiscing. And that's when you pick up the phone and you call that best friend and they don't answer. That's why I say that's our time to cry out to God. Whatever your faith is, now you might not believe in God. You might be angry at God. Was I angry at God? Yeah. Did I question God? Yeah. But day in and day out, he would fill me with his promises. Hey, I brought you here. I'm going to take you out. When I envision that building being from concrete to fully functioning, when I say I can't do this no more after I lost my brother Michael 10 years later, I said, God, you put me through this once. I thought I figured it out. But he continues to carry you. That's when it comes down to the faith and the belief in whatever you cry out to him, because he's the only one that's listening. That's what I would say to that family member that's dealing with a loss, whether it be health or whether it be violence. Violence is a different thing. We didn't sign up for that. Unfortunately, sickness comes, and that's part of life. However, to have someone make a stupid decision and affect your life and not only our lives, but their life as well. Now he has to live with the consequences and not see daylight.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that, Robert. We're going to move on now to the final segment of the show, something a little bit more lighthearted than what we've been talking about, but we're going to get to learn your 3 favorite places to eat in the San Gabriel Valley.
Come on, Russell.
So not an easy task, Robert. This is the SGV 3, and we ask you to share your 3 favorite places to eat in the SGV.
You're asking a big guy of his top 3.
It's hard.
It is very hard.
Yeah.
It is very hard. Now, I'm going to throw in one that's a food truck.
Okay.
I'm going to throw one that's definitely in my top 3. Man, you got me. I love food. How about if you give me give me 2, whether it be Mexican, you tell me and I'll tell you those 2, and then I'll give you my food truck. Because I got tons of, I love food. So anywhere from, we'll go with our good friends, Edna V's. They're located in downtown Covina as well.
Edna V's.
Edna V's.
Edna V's.
Edna V's Public House. They have some of the best whiskey wings ever. Ironically, they have some of the best ceviche. Susie Rowan, she makes it for us all the time. Big supporter of our foundation and our local high schools as well. Edna V's, located downtown Covina. That's one of my favorites.
Okay.
My food truck is called the Burger Game. Richard Rubio and Jeanette Rubio, they do so much for so many kids around the SGV. You'll see them at all the local breweries. They do a lot of pop-ups.
What is it called again?
The Burger Game.
And what do you get there?
Man, I take the chili cheeseburger. Their fries they do great wings as well. I mean, I'm telling you, I love my food and some of the best homemade lemonade on that truck. Jeanette really puts her heart into it, and so Edna V's, the Burger Game. What's my third? Man,
seems like you really like chicken wings.
Yeah, I like it all. I like it all. I just love my pub food. It's a newer one on the block, but I'm still staying to my city. Man, it's between campsite and domestic. We'll throw a shout out to Campsite. They're our neighbors there in Covina, new local brewery. This year 2, I think it is. They got great food, but I'm gonna go with domestic.
Domestic barbecue.
Domestic barbecue.
Milton and Erica.
Okay, they have 2 locations. They have the La Puente location, but my location is the Covina one, and I would have to say there, they have some of the best food there. I love barbecue, so those would be my 3: Edna V's, domestic, and the Burger Game. Those are my go-tos.
What do you get at domestic barbecue?
What don't I get? I mean, the flautas are awesome. The flautas are good. Their deviled eggs are good too. Have you been?
I've not.
Man, you got to try it out.
But they were guests on the show. They were here, and they're part of our MySGV food passport. So
I saw that. Yeah.
So when this comes out, it will already be out. But today is, we're in June, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to launch July 1st, but there'll be pre-sale the week before. So on this show, we've had over 35 restaurateurs. Girasol, Schlapmoan, Lord Empanada, Yamasushi, Domestic Barbecue. And it's such an honor to have them here. But I got to sit down and have these conversations with them. Yeah. And so approaching them about doing our food passport was like so easy. Like I just dial them on my phone, and then I'm talking with the owner, Yeah. And the passport, I hope you'll get one. It's only deals, no discounts. So like, you know what the domestic barbecue deal is? Free order of flautas.
I'm telling you, they're the go-to. The flautas are something else. But yeah, they're great people. I don't know. I've met them personally, but James, their manager, just moved out of state.
Yes,
he was the bartender. He was our go-to. Call him James. Get us in there, because they're always packed, and it's just that hometown feel. You can sit in the bar. We had some friends come out from the OC. They gave us the whole patio. Like, what else do you need? I mean, they were just great hosts. But good luck to James and his new adventures, and moved, I believe, to Dallas. That was their manager. That was my go-to. But that's man.
Awesome.
That's what we do.
You like the meats.
Yeah, dude, like the size of me, I'm 300. I love to eat.
Are you really?
Yeah. I should have said that. I'm a big guy.
But you're a big guy anyway, though.
Yeah,
right?
I'm active. Just picked up golfing, so hopefully I can start shedding.
Oh, I feel sorry for you.
No, I know. Like I have so many friends that golf, and then I picked it up and I said, "Hey, man, I think I could do this." And I got one good friend, Ben Chavez. He's my Mr. Miyagi, man. He's like just. And I fell in love with it. Now I'm shopping for golf clubs, and there's a lot of golf swag that's out there, man. My kids have some style, so that I know they'll take care of me as far as don't wear that. Yeah, wear that. So, but I like it because I'm doing something more active, not always on a cart. We walk a 9-hole. We try to do it weekly over in Glendora, Glen Oaks, and I love it. It's peaceful. The other morning, me and my son and my brother-in-law and my nephew, we did 9 holes in the morning. We were done by 10 and we took on our day. But it was just our balanced living that we try to do. We get busy, we work a lot, we do a lot of community stuff, but we're no good to our own families if we can't take care of ourselves or our families. We're no good to our community. So we're trying to live a little bit more balanced, and so golf is one of them. So yeah. They got good food there too at Glen Oaks.
Well, Robert, thank you for coming on the show and sharing your story with us. If people want to get in touch with you, support what you're doing, or come check out your facility, how can they do that?
It's very simple. We're at www.man-e-foundation.org. And also, you could Google us. You could Google my name, Robert Moreno. Our IG handle is 212 Training Center _. Once again, our website has everything. We're located at 542 North 2nd Avenue, downtown Covina, 1 block north of the Covina Police Station. Our neighbors are, shout out to A1 Reynolds, Renee, and Chet Fortney. They've been great supporters since us moving in, helping us with our grand opening. The city of Covina allowed us to shut down the street. That's not common, but we needed to put all these people somewhere where we launched, 14 years ago. And so we're located right there in downtown Covina. If you want to take a drive, or don't want to drive, jump on the Metrolink. If you're coming from this side of town, drops you off right at our front door, literally at our front door. So, we will continue to doing our mission, and that's turning in a tragedy into a triumph. And in the meantime, we see these young people be great citizens and become something great.
Yeah. It's wonderful work that you're doing.
I thank you so much for the opportunity to share my story.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
I didn't know how this episode was going to go in terms of like the recall of such a tragic event. It seems that Robert is healed from that, and he's done a lot of work to heal not only himself, his family, but also the community, I would imagine, and future generations. It's clear to see here what the motivating factor was. I mean, there's no ambiguity around that, right? This is the death of his brother. Not everybody can turn something like that into something positive. So it's really amazing to hear that story. And I'm sure that he's affecting many lives out there. Thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
If you like this kind of stuff, please hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to like and share. And if you want to check out our full catalog of episodes, always check out our website, mysgv.net. And don't forget the MySGV Food Passport is still available for you. You can check that out at mysgvfoodpassport.com. Get yours. Go check out the restaurants. They're amazing. And until next week, we'll see you then. Thank you for joining us on the MySGV podcast. Check out more of our content on our website, mysgv.net. This show was produced by Scott Wormuth, directed by Russell Mano, edited by Victoria Allers, and original music by Yone OG. If you'd like to join us next week as we capture and share more stories from our diverse community, feel welcome.
Nice mother. No, kind of mother.